Good morning, traders. It's Monday, November 15th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Okay, so I just want to really quickly start off this morning by mentioning we've got a gap higher. So that gap is from Friday's high to wherever the market opens here this morning. So the first thing that we're watching this morning is the gap rules, right? So the gap rules essentially tell us if the market trades down to yesterday's high and finds support and then continues from there, that is pretty much the most bullish scenario. We can also get a gap that doesn't need to fully fill to yesterday's high. It might only partially fill and then turn around and head higher. Either of those scenarios are extremely bullish. We can add on to that we had a spike in the M period on Friday. So spike rules are also in play. Spike rules tell us that if the market opens above the spike, it is the most bullish scenario. So that's two signals right out the gate that the market is bullish this morning. And then we look at value, and value, whether you include, if you include Thursday's trade, which I kind of don't, I kind of ignore it. But if you include Thursday's trade, yesterday's value was completely higher. And if you didn't, if you ignore it, it was still overlapping to higher from Wednesday's trade. So no matter how you look at it, the market-generated information this morning at the open is telling us that this market is bullish. It's also telling us we don't have to wait around, that the market may open and just quickly find some support and push higher, okay? So the first potential support is going to be around the halfback here. So call it somewhere between like 89 and 87, right? Somewhere in there could be where it finds support. If not, it'll be at yesterday's high. Friday's high, which is at 46.8350. If that fails, if it starts to pull back down into yesterday's range, the support will be in this area where we spent so much time yesterday. So consider it like, around the 76 level and then around the 72 level. Okay. The question on some people's minds this morning might be, is this a V-shaped recovery? Are we about to bounce up out of here? And the answer is there's two potential scenarios that I see looking at the daily. Let me just expand this out a little bit. Okay, the market is open. So the two potential situations that I see on the daily, if we are bullish this morning, one would be looking above the all-time high right here, coming back down, finding support. Then I'd be looking for a continuation up to the upper end of this trend line that we have on the dailies. The other scenario would be looking above the all-time high and failing and pulling back in which case we may just need to go sideways in this area. It would not be unreasonable to spend a few days or even a week just bouncing around in this area because we had so much excess coming up here. So those are the two scenarios that I'm seeing if the market is bullish here today. If we start to pull back and we get below yesterday's low, then things can start to get more bearish for continuation to the downside. But inside this area, I think we might just be getting some balance. So, all right, let's watch how the market reacts to the gap. Okay, so they're heading down. The overnight inventory is net long, so it's not surprising we got a counter auction. So we are looking for support at yesterday's high or anywhere above, and finding it is very bullish. Please smash that like button this morning. I'd really appreciate it. It's a great way to start the week. All right, so not great taper at the low. It's acceptable, but it's not great. I'd like to see one more push down there. Okay, so once again, I'd like to see the market push back down here and get just a little more taper on this low. Kind of see the buyers, see the sellers running out there a little better. But right now it's finding support. And finding support anywhere above yesterday's high is bullish. Diego, good morning to you. Welcome. David Glass, good to see you. On the NQ, I have it in 2-tick increments. Let's pop over and take a look at the Q. See, did it gap up this morning? Okay, so the NQ came down and filled its gap to the tick. So that is good support at the moment. Or it looks like it was off by a single tick. Yeah, it was off by a single tick. And that, of course, looks like it's the same because it's in 2-tick increments. And but I can see that little green arrow right there. That's just how my software shows me there's still one more tick that needs to backfill. But again, the Q had a spike, so we opened above the spike and with a gap higher. So very bullish setup there. Alexander, good morning to you. Cyrus, hi, welcome. Doug, good morning. Sanju is with us, good to see you. Philip is here, good morning. Two Manifs, good morning from Slovakia. Almost said Slovenia, which I'm sure would have been very offensive to you. Slovakia. Ray Miller, good morning. Coming to us from Orlando. John, good morning to you. Welcome. Happy to have you. David is also in Orlando. You two could have like a little meetup. You can have like a little cup of coffee and talk about markets. Be adorable. JG with the GM. Good to see you, brother. Welcome. Jose is here. J Trader, good morning to you. Scooball, hello. Vincent, good morning and welcome. Futures Trader, back with us. Good to have you. Danielle, good morning to you. Ricky Bobby in the house. Scrapper back with us. Good morning. Fausto, good to see you. Thank you for the thumbs up, brother. Ooh, 115 people, only 46 likes. Those are rookie numbers. We can get those numbers up. Let's push that little thumbs up button. Push it real good. Peter, good morning to you. Welcome. Henry is here. Good to see you. All right, so once again, they're finding support here. Not needing to fill the gap is the most bullish scenario. On a gap and go. Also often leads to the beginning of a trend day higher. The next resistance is going to be getting above that overnight high. Now, the one thing that we're not getting that would make it the most bullish of all is sometimes when you have a morning that opens like this with a gap higher, you get the advancers versus decliners that stay pegged up here at the higher price. They kind of just chill up here all day. That is pretty much the most bullish thing you can see. But this looks a little bit less bullish, the fact that it had to pull back in to find support. But that's just one signal. We got lots of signals that are bullish here. Jonathan, ahoy, mateys. Hit the like or walk the plank. Donkey saying the Russell's pulling back a little bit here. Let me take a look. Oh, yeah. All right. Both the breadth and the advancers versus decliners. Looking pretty bearish here. Not bearish, but not bullish, certainly. So now what we're looking for is either good taper on the low that then starts to trade higher again, or trading down to yesterday's high. Looking for support there. That is good taper on the low. So that doesn't mean this has to be the low of the day, but just that if it was, it would have good taper. Harry, is good taper what would get me into a trade? No, not yet. Not with the internals looking like this. I need to see some more time. But the market, if the market made good taper here, which it did, and then it pushed back up above this node of volume, I might look to enter with a very small size in here on support. Or kind of almost wait for it to get back above the opening price and find support. So it pushes above there, comes down, finds support, go long. Otherwise, I look for what's going to happen here at yesterday's high. When I am confident enough that I would get into a trade, I'll change the banner down here to say bullish. Ricky Bobby, your company rang the bell this morning, the opening bell? Oh, that's awesome. And they're real bastards for not letting you do it. Can I explain the tick? Yeah, I can give you a basic idea. So these two charts down here are the ticks. The one on the left is for the NYSE, and the one on the right is for the NASDAQ. And essentially, it's just measuring the number of buyers versus the number of sellers. So when it's above the zero line, it's more buyers. When it's below the zero line, it's more sellers. So in a moment like this, right, where the overnight inventory is so net long and the market is opening with a big gap higher, you just basically want to see first that it finds support above that zero line, which it's doing on both indices here. And then as the next 15 minute starts to print, you want to kind of see that it's staying higher and starting to trend higher. That would be what it would do if it was bullish. Correct, Jonathan. The gap is always from the previous day's high to the opening price or wherever the low is. So at open, that was the gap. Now this is the gap right here. Another thing that we keep in mind is that spikes that happen late in the day are a very potent signal for what the market is trying to do over a longer term basis. So this spike higher here in the M period is bullish. The fact that it spiked higher and the fact that we opened above it is a signal that it was correct. So that's another reason why we should, excuse me, we should find support around yesterday's high. If not at the base of that spike, just below at 79. Arthur, good morning. It's not dark today in California. Okay, so that's the third time in the row the market has pushed down and made good taper, meaning we're seeing the sellers run out on the lower the market gets. Now, that doesn't mean it can't do another push lower. It doesn't mean it can't get to yesterday's high, but it's just giving us a signal ahead of time. Hey, just so you know, the further down the price goes, the fewer and fewer sellers there are. One reason, if you want to understand why gap and goes that don't get to yesterday's high are so potent for continuation higher, it's because the number of people that short it trying to fill the gap that then get squeezed up at higher prices. So it is still very bullish to find support here at yesterday's high, but just not quite as much as if you find it above, because those people shorting in here for the gap fill, they'll take profits when we get here. Scrappers, internals. Ooh, yeah, you're right. The ticks are now trending down. They got below that zero line. Looks like we just reached yesterday's high. We did. So now we're looking for support in here. Right around yesterday's high. They can go a few ticks below, but that's where we want to find support. If they fail, we're probably heading down to the base of the spike at 46.7875. And it looks like that's what we're doing. So if it gets down to the base of the spike, finds support, and continues higher, but then finds resistance at yesterday's high, that would be shortable to me for continuation lower. But if it finds support and starts to trade above the high yesterday, that would be bullish to me that we found support there. Scrapper gap fill complete on the ES and the SPX. So there you go. Now you've taken some of the short inventory that was pushing the market lower off the table because they would have taken profits. And you're now giving new buyers a chance to come in here and buy. And they don't have to worry about that gap needing filling anymore, so they can buy with more confidence. Okay, certainly seems like the buyers are stepping in. Can we get above this node of what will now act as resistance around the halfback? Support often becomes resistance. Nope, they cut right through it like butter. Like butter. Okay, I am officially bullish on the market. Looking for them to find support here in this area now around the halfback. The entry for the long trade would have been yesterday's high. So if you want to enter now, I would definitely wait till it pushes higher and then comes back down and finds support. But it feels bullish. Okay, so I don't often talk about my trades, but this morning's was such a textbook trade that it's worth mentioning. So I just put my limit order at yesterday's high with my stop below the base of that spike. Now that we've gotten above this node of volume, I've just moved my stop up to here. So no matter what, I'm going to grab a couple points from the trade, but I'm in it for continuation higher in case we start to trend higher this morning, which often happens on a gap and go. So now once again, this area around the halfback should act as support on a pullback if we're going to keep this momentum going. All right, well, that didn't hold, so they're probably heading back down to yesterday's high, looking for support there. Let's see what the ticks are doing. Ooh, the sellers are piling on. So I wouldn't be looking for a long trade anymore. They just lost me. Need to see stronger support. Need to see a reversal of this trend on the ticks. Next stop, if we pass back down into yesterday's range, is going to be the base of that spike at 46.78. Donkey sector rotation into Amazon. Is Amazon pumping today? Amazon in beautiful consolidation on the daily. Suffice to say, whichever end of this they break out above or below, they should get some continuation. Balance leads to excess. This is like, what, 6 months of balance? Okay, so now as we start to trade back down into yesterday's range, next support is that base of the spike. 46.78.75. Looks like the NQ is about to test its 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles. That could act as support for that market. Brownfield, early indicators seem to start at the 3 push down taper time. I don't know. I don't see it that way. I always look at the market as an auction process, right? It's buyers and sellers. And so I think that what we were seeing in those pushes down in the taper, that was sellers piling on, trying to get a gap fill. So the minute you got that gap fill, it changed everything. So they got a little bit of a push lower, but then immediately they started to push higher. So that to me was new buyers stepping in, and they just didn't get anything for it. So they gave up. Myself included. I told you my trade. I got in here with my stop here, and then when they got above this level, I moved my stop to here. So I was one of those buyers that gave up. So now what they have to do is they have to pull the market down to somewhere where it's such a good deal. It's on sale so much that people can't let that sale pass them by. They got to have it. Give me my ES contracts. For me, that next area is going to be the base of the spike here. They were so desperate to buy it on Friday, confident that they could hold it through the weekend at this level. That should be a good place for support. Brownfield, it was bearish. It tried so many times, then succeeded though. Yeah, I mean bearish if you're trading on a very, very short term time frame. If you're trading, 1 minute or 5 minute candles, yeah, it was bearish. But if you're trading for the day, if you're if you're trying to get into a long trade for a potential to trend higher, which obviously it doesn't feel like we're going to get that now, but when you have a gap and go, that's a very common thing. I mean, you're not taking a trade to get out in 5 minutes. You're taking a trade to sit in for the next 4 hours and get massive upside continuation. So it's just a difference of time frame. I trade over a much longer time frame. So when I see a gap and go, I'm trying to get into a trade that I can sit in all day and just print money. Whereas if you were looking to short the gap fill, because we kept testing that taper, that's a very fast trade. That's just not my cup of tea. But certainly there's money to be made in both directions. That's why we get two-sided trade. Diane, Friday's high was also Sunday's reopen, 46.82-ish. That was just now retested, so it's a very good swing position for the week as a long hold on the way up. I can see that. You might get a better entry intraday, though, if you just started to enter your position, if you ladder in. Okay, NQ pushing through that 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles. That's a little bit bearish to see. No support there. Tick still trending down. We really need to see this downtrend reverse and start going up if the buyers are truly going to take control of this market. It's also worth noting we've had kind of low volume this morning. Not terribly so, but a little less than norm. Danielle, how do you sign up to follow me all day? Great question. Thank you for asking. If you just look in the description below, you'll see a link that says Brigade. Join the Brigade. And you just click on that. It costs $10. And then you're in, baby. once you're in, you can just you'll be able to follow the directions, but you just go to the page piratetraders.io/live and click on the link there once I switch over. Donkey blood in and blood out. J Trader, the NQ range is exactly 100 points. That's funny. All right, well, they're starting to one-time frame lower. They also don't have much support once they get below, so they've already passed through the base of the spike from the M period, so that's a little bit bearish. They've passed through that 20 moving average, although they're pulling back up to it now, but that's a little bit bearish. So if they start to get below, you know, the very bottom end of this node, call it like 16,169, and then they come back up and find some resistance in this area, that would be bearish for continuation down to backfill the single prints that they left behind on Friday. So the target becomes 16,114. But this could act as support first. I'm just saying if that breaks, and then they come back up and they start to get some resistance, that's a pretty good short right there. Bearish. Debeep. Could be time to add a new rule to the trade plan. I use opening range to decide if I'm taking longs or shorts. That's fair, although what's the opening range? The A and B period or just the A period? And also you don't want to, like on a day like today, if it had found support, if the market had opened up here, come back down, found support, it could have turned around and just taken off like a rocket ship. So you don't want to miss those opportunities. They don't come often. Most days the market just grinds for the first hour, but gaps are the one time where sometimes they don't. They just take off a certain direction. Okay, so we create a poor low in the B period. We often get a push away from the poor low, but then come back at some point to repair it. Again, still looking for support around the base of the spike, 46.78. Fausto, yeah, I don't have a great answer for that question. Truly, it is a mind-boggling query to be in. Do you consider it one-time framing when the B period gets below the A, or do you wait for the C period? It really feels to me like it's 50-50. Some days you get continuation if the A and B start trending one direction, and some days you get a reversal in the C and it starts going the other way. So if you want a high confidence, a high probability setup, you wait for the C period to continue one-time framing. But if you like to take, slightly riskier setups, then you can consider one-time framing if the A and B. You just have to be open to the idea that the C might print and reverse the opposite direction, because that happens half the time. All right, so now as we push back up towards yesterday's high, we can look for resistance there, right? It was acting as support earlier. Will it act as resistance now? And one signal for that will be the ticks. Do they continue to trend down, or do we start trending up from here? Trending up would be a sign that the buyers are stepping in. But if they pull, if it wicks right back down now, and it starts going lower, we know the sellers are taking charge. All day, every day, I'm just simply watching the market and asking myself, what's the market trying to do, and how good of a job is it doing? Earlier, it was trying to go higher, but it did not do a very good job of it. So I got into a long, but then got out very quickly. Now it looks like it's trying to go lower, but it's not doing a very good job of it. So I'll just sit and wait for a better signal. Dave, what's the probability of the single prints from Friday on the NQ getting backfilled? Oh, well, now, pretty friggin' high. All right, they repaired the first week reference. So now's where you want to look for resistance in this node. Right here. Look for resistance in there. If so, I think it would be a fair target to short to backfill those single prints. Do the ticks continue to trend down? It's a tricky moment, though. Any trade that I was going to get in either direction here, I'd be with very tight stops because the market's just trying to decide. So once again, getting to yesterday's high, are we getting resistance or the ticks? Oh man, the ticks are bullish. Tricky morning. So we're looking for the ticks to start to push back down below the zero line here at yesterday's high. If that resistance is going to hold for another push lower. But they're not giving us a clear signal. Indecision. Indecision, that means. Mako, what's the time delay on the YouTube stream? Usually it's not that long, just, 10 seconds or something like that. You can always refresh your screen. $124 people watching, 76 likes. If you find this exciting and entertaining, smash that thumbs up button. If not, smash the thumbs down. That's okay. Free will, baby. Make your voice heard. Donkey. Is that true? They're getting rid of the thumbs down? Joe Park, good to see you. Welcome. Alexander. The only counter argument to that is, from what I understand, that's how YouTube figures out what you as a person like, so it can make suggestions to you. So, for example, if you like to watch a lot of content on trading, and they suggest a video to you, and you watch that video and you don't like it, they can go, okay, he does like content on trading, but not this particular YouTuber or whatever. So we won't suggest this person to them in the future. So it seems like they're kind of, but knowing Google, they've figured something else out. They can tell by how many seconds you watch or whatever. They don't need the thumbs down. So, Chris, you hear me talking really fast? I'm talking to 1.5 speed. I'm like, is the market going to find support here? All right, guys. Well, once again, as we're pushing up to yesterday's high, we are getting resistance, right? They're pushing those ticks back down below the zero line. So I do think we need to test the base of this spike, looking for stronger support. If that fails, we're going to trade down into this area here from yesterday, where we had a lot of rotation, brought in a lot of volume. So that support would be about the 74 area. Yeah, Chris, I'm well aware of what 1.5 speed. I watch everything in that. Anytime I'm watching like a podcast or listening to a book on tape or anything, I'm always at 1.5. Unless I'm watching ASMR. I got to get that in real time. Jeremy, short setup, right, Charles? Yes. I wouldn't get into this short. It doesn't interest me personally, but market generated information, if those ticks keep trending down, that's the signal that the market doesn't have enough buyers up here at this level. And so it's going to have to pull down. It might find them here. It might find them in here, right? But for me, I'm not confident enough in it to actually risk capital. But that is what the market generated information is saying. Honestly, the internals really just look more rotational than anything. So that's a sign of indecision. I'll wait till I know what the market's trying to do before I enter a trade. Okay, we just pulled the point of control lower to down here. That is a little bit bearish to see. And if the C period gets below the B period, it will be undeniable that the market is one time framing lower. So that will also be a little bit bearish to see. And again, looking for support at the base of the spike and then inside this node from yesterday. So specific levels to jot down is 67, 78, 25, and then 67, 72. Those are your two potential supports if the market does start to one time frame lower here in the C period. Tick still trending lower. And with that, I will bid you all farewell. Thank you so much. If you're not a member of the Brigade, you can sign up with the link below. It only costs $10, so it's a pretty sweet deal, if you ask me. If you are a member of the Brigade, I will see you on the private stream. Thanks a lot, guys. I will see you all here tomorrow morning.